Welcome back to How China Works. I am Brendan Davis coming to you from Los Angeles.
And I'm Yingying coming from Beijing.
Awesome. Well, Yingying, it's great that we could coordinate ourselves to get on a call today. I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah. How are you doing, Brendan?
I am really good. Thanks for asking. We wanted to give our listeners an update on what's happening, a kind of a very quick little mini show here. For me, I've been doing a few things. I did put out a special episode of Big Fish. Actually, within the last couple of weeks, I put out two, one from my recent travels and one from that Beijing event that we did, the Beijing Embassy event back in December. So if you haven't listened to Big Fish in the Middle Kingdom lately, there are a couple of new things there. And otherwise, in addition to what we're developing for How China Works, which we're going to talk more about in a minute, I've been working on developing this new podcast of mine, which will come out the end of this week as long as I get my music and graphics, hint, hint, Ronald and Carl, which is If I Knew You Better with Brendan Davis. And I'm really excited. I've been interviewing some really interesting people. And that is like Big Fish. That's a really long form, interview show where we cover the personal and professional biographies and we're going to get pretty deep in it. So it's been pretty great. Plus, I'm making a movie. So I've been busy, but you've been really busy. What have you been up to? The last few weeks, you've been speaking at events and attending things. What have you been up to?
Yeah, there's several events that I participated in. It's really, really interesting, and I met a lot of cool people here. And one of them actually is called China Accelerator, Batch 15+8 speaker event. I was there, was kind of on fire. We had over there, but it was a fascinating opportunity for me to witness the energy from the founders from global communities and here to understand better about Chinese market and how to be successful here. And we had interesting speakers from everywhere, including the China president of HTC Vive, and She Loves Tech, and a few other interesting speakers, including Jason Ma. I'm not sure you know about him. I would definitely introduce you to him and also invite him to be our How China Works podcast. He has been leading a project called East West Artist, I guess. And I think the whole event, and he led the event to the peak when everybody was really feeling the energy and celebrating cross-cultural leadership. It was a full event that night. People coming from very different background, but we are all in China, in Beijing. Right. So, they celebrate this kind of leadership. I would love to use this word, celebration of leadership. And entrepreneurs, founders, leaders should all get together, have this engagement. So I really enjoy the event a lot.
Very cool. And it looked like a great platform. I saw some quotes. I saw some shots and a tiny bit of video that people were reposting about that. And yeah, it looked, you got really nice remarks. I had quite a few people say that they really enjoyed your comments there. And plus I saw what was, on the things you posted. So congrats on that. That's really cool. And then you sort of repped How China Works at the Beijing podcaster get together that was last week, I believe, right?
Yeah, that was 3 days back.
Okay. That's technically last week. It's your Monday. It's my Sunday night. We'll call it last week.
Yeah. So the podcaster, it was the first time for me to be in this kind of event, but it turned out to be great. And I have fantastic speakers from all the podcasters. And I think one thing it reminded me when I was there was the authenticity from all the podcasters. Right. And I think everyone get involved in this project would like to contribute some way. They want to be able to connect with more people. And they do this through podcasting, which is kind of a way to connect with people, right? Connect with more mission-driven and enthusiastic cohort. And most importantly, we all are trying. We're not perfect. We're trying to do our best, but we do this. We learn by doing. I think that's what we shared most in common at that event. I also find that being a great podcast takes great commitment.
Yeah, like, that's what I hear.
Brent, and we were doing this How China Works season 1, 40 episodes.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. Looking back on that, not to pat us on the back end, I guess I'm saying it just because it's, we sort of have a little bit of the survivor's reality where Ying and I went through this, I mean, traumatic in a good way, if that makes sense, I can call my website crazy in a good way. So this was kind of traumatic, but in a good way because of the insane amount of research that we put into it and, doing our outlines and trying to structure it and just the physical production. There were days I remember that we, like one or both of our voices were basically gone. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're done. One or the other of us would say, well, I guess we're done because you can't talk, so, we definitely cranked it out.
I was like, oh no, Brendan, I can't do this. and it was such a leadership lesson. And also it was the journey. It was the journey that was more meaningful. And then even creating the content itself, It was the journey of to be able to see that. And it's, whenever you have that kind of moment, you want to give up. It's kind of difficult. You're doubting yourself, and you're just like, "Wow, I didn't realize how hard it is." Right?
Mm-hmm,
but you go back to see why you do what do you do.
Yeah,
I think the podcast networking event, the 3 days back, was kind of like covered a lot of that part of the spirit. Right? That makes me feel really, really connected.
Absolutely. And I'm happy you were able to go there and rep us and let people get to know you personally who hadn't actually met you. And I know most everybody on that panel pretty well. I know Elle from you, Elliot Zagman, but John Hartman's a friend. I know Marina and of course Aladdin who organized the event and those people have all been on Big Fish in the Middle Kingdom before. And I've been on some of their shows. And this isn't meant to be self-serving. I'm just saying I'm sure it was a very comfortable, familiar environment. But I do know, I guess to sort of let our listeners know, I mean, anyone who knows us individually or, before this show already sort of understands this and maybe you could figure it out. But if you're just coming to How China Works and getting to know Yingying and I at the same time, this is a combined, dual effort here. And you sort of see our different pieces we contribute. And mine is definitely rooted in the Western approach to things. And I tend to get a little more touchy feely and more sometimes into the emotional journey part of stuff. And Yingying is very practical and thoughtful about structure and process and really clear-eyed about how things connect. And, your language is really specific. And I know you've been thinking a lot about our show and, for you, the things that you want to focus on. So, I mean, I know some of this because we've talked, but what have you been thinking about in terms of what you're interested in, what you're looking at as we move forward, where we're going, and kind of what's on your mind, Yingying?
Well, the thing on my mind most at this point is to really, we want people to know why we do what we do, and I think in today's world, people's attention is is shorter than the golden fish. Mm-hmm. So we have to really be able to provide something valuable to our listener. That's our goal. With that being said, a lot of things, people have choices. They go to different podcasters, and even right now, information comes from all directions. But the content creator has to know what are the key words and principles, concept, even some spirit, and he or she want to share, right? Mm-hmm. With that being said, we literally, at How China Works, we are very clear. We want to send this message to our audience, through each episode, right? We have this this clear message, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically. Mm-hmm. Our audience. For the one is we are a cross-cultural, cross-gender, cross-generational communication bridge, right?
Yep.
With one specific goal of helping the world become China smarter.
Absolutely.
And the Chinese This is the mission, core mission. No matter what, we're gonna stick to it.
Yeah, that's you plus me talking is that. So by default, that's actually like the construct that we're working with, which is kind of why I think we both thought this, that we would have something interesting to say if we combined our thoughts like this. And so far, so good.
That's important for us, even, right? For this, number 2 is we already have 2 seasons. Like we finished our season 1, and season 2 had 2 lines, which is 2, kind of like 2 family. We first line was China objectively. We also have the Chinese youth global voice. We want people to hear the Chinese participation, which is hard sometimes. You're doing our English podcast, right? But we're trying to find the Chinese English speaker to be able to share their feeling in that way, in the details, so they can bring the value of their stories, intimate stories, and insight about the world into our audience. That is difficult sometimes when it comes to who we could invite at this point. But I think we're talking about how China works. We can't miss out the voices from the Chinese, no matter what, right? We want to bring them together, generate more unbiased and objective voices together. So Brent have suggestion for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. My 2 cents. I guess I don't really feel the need to go here's my 2 cents on everything, but definitely those 2 points for me. It's first of all, this, China and the world relationship is one of the most important things, for the rest of our natural lives, if you're listening to this. So understanding it as objectively as possible. And of course, everybody has their own, we're all coming from different places, but trying to be as objective as possible and get as many viewpoints in here as possible. It's really important. And then especially focusing on the Chinese millennials who are the current young leaders. And of course, the generation after is going to be, coming up behind, but the millennials right now are the ones ascending into, and in some cases in positions of power or prominence, whether it's, public versus private sector in China. So being able to have those people, especially well represented, is really important, because how else are we going to understand things, objectively?
Right. And number 3, here we follow 3 principles. Like I basically shared this from time to time. And diversity thinking, we think is very important to incorporate the multidisciplinary viewpoints from the experts we invite, like policymakers, experts, philosophers and economists and scientists, even students, I think, because the dialogues could be very diverse and inclusive, right, in terms of race, gender, culture. I think it's kind of like an experiment for us to do so in today's moment, right?
Right.
Well, we really are, there's so many voices directed or in some way shifted by technology and by certain medias, right? It's really hard to really bring the best practices for building these win-win bridges. But we would like to strike on that.
Totally.
And the second is cultural intelligence. That's absolutely the key word we mentioned here. The third is the East Midwest.
Absolutely.
I think it's together. So we want to address 4 gaps. This is number 4, right? The gaps, if you really pay attention to our shows and more in the future, we want to be able to show, and there are gaps between past and future.
Right.
When I say so is because people focus too much about what China has been, but forget what China's future should be look like or would be look like, right? And we want to be able to bring people to not predict, but at least you can say something about driving the future. I think millennials' participation are quite important because more forward-looking and a lot of younger generations.
It's your time now, Yingying. No pressure. It's your time. You got about 10 good years to, and then the next kids are going to be knocking at the door, going, "Get out of my way, old lady."
I would do it in a harmonious way, but
hopefully in a fun way.
Yeah, we will. And that brings to the second gap we want to fill, which is between the old and young, right? I think older generation have a lot of resources, great vision and life experience, and younger generation, like my generation, literally, most of us, we are on the track, we embracing the world from all directions, but sometimes we lack of this foundation of experience and even world values, things like that, right? And I think it's important to combine this, both fill this gap, build dialogues. And the third one is superficial and deep. Yeah, it's important. Yeah, we can talk about food, how good food is from different China. Absolutely, we love to talk about some deep stuff so that can really, really help people to reflect on what is really matter at this point, right? Totally. And the fourthly is serious and fun. I try to learn as much as possible from Brendan because he's the one really bring out of the fun side of me from time to time on our show. Maybe I already feel that, but I'm improving. I'm trying to get better.
Well, you are. The thing is, you are fun and actually very funny. And I know what it's like to want to be taken seriously. And so when you are very serious and you're very, you define this idea of mission driven. So when you are so mission driven like Yingying, it's important to remember to lighten up sometimes. I have to be reminded. And my friend Carl King, who does our music here, Carl, he's a writer and filmmaker and not just a musician. And part of his writing has to do with this idea of, he doesn't really sort of know how to have fun. To him, fun is getting stuff done. And I can relate to that too. I think we both can relate to that. I don't have like turn off my brain fun, and I'm jealous of people who do. But, yeah, you versus me, I'm definitely the smarty pants.
Super important on this moment. The capability of making people laugh extremely, extremely valued. It's going to be more and more important. And I think in being able to, show your knowledge and share your knowledge is one of the ways could make people laugh, make people smell happy, right? I think that's why we're trying to create all of this. So number five, which is 5 keywords. And I think I'm going to do very quickly.
Okay.
China.
Yeah.
Of course. The first keyword.
All right, go.
Back up. Second, cross-cultural, right? Because that's the keyword. Third, civilization. And I think civilization is something critical. When we think about this, like every morning we wake up, think about such a big term instead of just focusing on what we need to do step by step today.
No pressure. Let's contemplate the fate of civilization today. Oh, but coffee first.
And when you combine this together, think broad, think big, and focus small steps. That would be the good combination. And fourth, technology. In today's world, you can't just go back to talk about dig deep on history and the Confucianism, all those past cultural and historical thing, but without really understanding where technology is driving us to be at this point, right?
Yep.
Talk about AI. When will artificial intelligence replace my job? But let's really focus on talking about human awareness, human intelligence. And I think that's why we want people to be one step in technology. Of course, it's very important to put efforts there, but how about let's just grow back to the fifth keyword, which is humanity, I think.
I love it. I think those are 5 and 4 important things to consider. And there's a 2 in there on one of the points. That's a lot of things, Yingying. You dropped a lot of knowledge on our listeners today.
Well, we hope continue to serve, and in the future we're gonna do it and follow this rule. Awesome. We, and just so our friends listening understand, we're not seeing each other. We're doing audio only Skypes. This is pretty good. Normally there are a lot more train wrecks in between, when you can't see the other person. I think we're doing pretty good for it just being audio. What about you? I enjoyed a lot. I think we should
Nice.
do this more.
Nice. Well, I think that it would be a great time to let everybody sort of get on with the rest of their life for the day. But before we go, where should they check us out to learn more, and what should they do, Yingying?
I think they could, for every listener of us, we value your opinion, we value your comments, and most importantly, we value your friendship. And feel free to contact us because this is very important. We're not just constantly creating the content and sharing it out there. We want to be able to build a community with every one of you, because without this, we won't be able to achieve truly those words, the keywords that I asked.
It'll just be talk otherwise, and we don't want to just talk.
I think we want people to reach out to us, and we really want to hear from you. What are the key concerns you have? What are the projects you're actually working on, so that how could our How China Works podcast, this particular content platform, could serve you in a better way? I think that's something that I really care about at this moment.
Fantastic. And you can do that by visiting howchinaworkspodcast.com. You can find resources from past show guests. You can find links to basically everyone who's been on and find out interesting bits from different shows from season 1. We have a lot of research links posted, and there's some pretty fascinating articles. I found myself, I kind of got lost on there. I went on there to do an update the other day, and I got lost for like an hour just chasing links, following things. Oh, wow, that's really cool. Something I'd read or I'd skimmed before, and it was relevant to what I was thinking about. So you can enjoy the howchinaworkspodcast.com website. There is a contact page, which that form, we will get your lovely message should you send us one. Of course, you can also chase down us via the socials. We're on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn as How China Works. You can, of course, search Yingying or I personally, and we will, we'd love to hear from you, as she said. And we'll be back next week with another awesome interview. This is right, yes?
Yeah, see you next time on How China Works.
Awesome. Have a good day, everybody.